AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We're here today at Marucci Hitter's house. Alondra's on site. Muse, Pauly are back in studio. We're glad you're hanging out. Alex Milazzo will be here in 15 minutes. Not physically here. He'll be on the phone. He'll be with us on the show in 15 minutes. We'll talk about LSU baseball season coming to an end. Disappointment, obviously. Something he went through in 2022, Jay Johnson's first year, and then saw them abruptly build to a national championship in 2023. So aside from adding Paul Skeens, what are the things that Jay Johnson did that offseason to build that team toward a national championship? We'll dig into that with Milazzo coming up here in just a little bit. Thanks for hanging out with us. Remember, you can always email, tweet us, text the show, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, or you could send it to our text line for the whole station at 499-1045, 499-1045. Big news of the day, aside from the LSU baseball season ending, of course, nationally in college football, is Ed Orgeron's return to LSU. It was announced on Wednesday night that Coach O is back. Lane Kiffin's hired him as a special assistant to the defense and special teams. I think part of this does open the show, gave you my full reaction to it. Co-signed 10 out of 10. Ed Orgeron, great defensive line coach, great recruiter, great relationship with Kiffin since they worked together at Southern Cal in 2001 for the first time. So you're talking about a 25-year relationship between the two of them. All of those things make a ton of sense. Really, the only question is, could Orgeron, would he be willing to come back to the place where he was the head coach and be an assistant, which I would imagine can't be an easy thing to do, but a guy who clearly loves Louisiana, loves LSU, wants to coach again, and now has the opportunity. I also think something that is important here to think of is this is probably a bit of a foreshadowing, or maybe like an insurance policy to a degree for Lane Kiffin, because believe me, I am not pushing Blake Baker out the door, but I think you have to, if you're running a college sports team, like, you have to acknowledge possibilities and prepare for inevitabilities. And one of the things that almost happened this offseason was Blake Baker almost became a head coach. Both Memphis and Tulane offered him their jobs. He could have left for either of those jobs. So it stands to reason next year in the hiring cycle, or at the end of this year, in the hiring cycle, I guess it'll be next year, it'll be 27. But anyway, you understand my point. In the next hiring cycle, it stands to reason Blake Baker's going to be up for some pretty big jobs if the defense is good again. And if that happens and Baker leaves, Baker would likely bring with him Kevin Peoples and Jake Olson. Those were some of the things we had already heard rumored when he was potentially going to take that Tulane job. And those are guys that came with him from Missouri. So if you're just putting the pieces of the puzzle together, if you're Lane Kiffin, you could say, all right, Ed lives in Baton Rouge. We got a great relationship. He's a great recruiter. He knows Louisiana. He's a great defensive line coach. Let me bring him in now. He can be in our building, our system, our culture, everything. And then should somebody leave, boom, plug and play right there. Defensive line coach. So that makes a lot of sense. And when you think about who started that trend, well, it was Nick Saban. And he did it with Lane Kiffin and with Steve Sarkisian and with Bill O'Brien and all these coaches where he just sort of had like Nick Saban's rehabilitation program for fired coaches, where he would just stockpile these guys, make them analysts, be in the building, around the culture, the system, the everything. And so if somebody left, boom, he had someone already in-house he could just promote into that role. When Lane Kiffin left before the national championship game to go take the FAU job, Steve Sarkisian, boom, right in to be the offensive coordinator. It was just a very natural thing because Nick had planned for those inevitabilities, which is staff turnover. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, you're going to have staff turnover. So this is one of those things where, great, get Ed in the building now, and for the eventuality that somebody's going to leave, and you've had a ton of turnover at defensive line coach, you have a guy already here ready to potentially step in. I mean, I've given you this list before, but think about that staff position going back to 2023, the spring of 23, when Jamar Cain left for the Denver Broncos in the middle of spring. Like, this is from spring of 23 to now, 3 calendar years, spring of 23 to spring of 26, 3 calendar years. Jamar Cain, Gerald Chapman, Jimmy Lindsey, John Jancic, Pete Jenkins, Bo Davis, Kyle Williams, now Kevin Peoples. Working with your defense. That's 8 interior defensive line coaches in 3 calendar years. That's insane turnover. So if you can build some continuity and stability there, that's a very good thing. Lots of reaction here today. Our buddy J-Boy, Jake Crane, on a Crane and Cone, had this to say about Eddie O coming back.
To me, and again, they've thrown a lot of money in there. I get that. But it's one thing to have a guy that can also sit in there and say, hey, this is a good idea. This is not a good idea when you're talking about the people of Louisiana and the way to go about it. And Ed Orgeron is not responsible for the whole thing. You're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting recruiting, Ed.
Sure.
You're getting, hey, let's talk defense. Let's get him fired up pregame speech, Ed. But Ed is he's also not in charge of the economy for the football team. You know what I'm saying? I think it's brilliant.
One of the things, though, that Jake kind of touched on there, maybe even unknowingly, is, last week, Verge Osbury made some comments to USA Today about Brian Kelly. And if you were here and you remember our reaction to that, I talked about this. I'll kind of give you the abbreviated Cliff's Notes. But Verge gave that interview in reaction to the criticism of Kiffin from the Vanity Fair piece. My point was, you can validate Kiffin without criticizing Kelly. But one of the things that Verge talked about were connection with the boosters. And that's not that wasn't a universal truth with boosters. There are some very high-level boosters that, like, I'm telling you, I've sat down at dinner with high-level LSU boosters that like Brian Kelly and supported his program. So that wasn't like a universal truth. However, there are some that stopped giving. And look, and that's a common thing that can happen. Like, there were boosters who stopped giving as long as Joe Oliva was the athletic director. That's the thing that sometimes happens when people who give feel alienated or not appreciated. And Ed Orgeron, like, before he was added to staff, like, Ed's been in Baton Rouge. He's around. And the conversations were starting about having him going on tour, for lack of a better phrase, like a lot of the little Tiger Tour, like some of those events, to go interact with fans and boosters and fundraisers and to try to drum up some of that interest and as a fundraiser. So I do think, because of the relationships that Ed, and by extension Derek Panamsky, had when Ed was the head coach, and sort of in that era, I think Ed being back now also re-engages some of those relationships that had kind of gone dormant. So Jake may not have even been necessarily thinking that when he said that, but there is some truth also as an ancillary benefit to the financial component of having Ed Orgeron back as well, officially associated with the LSU football program. I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of listen. Y'all know my feelings on Ed, the head football coach. Okay, And when he deserved praise, I gave it. When he deserved criticism, I gave it. And I know people feel a certain way. This is perfect for him. It's like Ed Orgeron, the defensive line coach that Les Miles hired, was brilliant. Ed Orgeron joining Lane Kiffin's staff to recruit and coach D-line and fundraise, yes, it's absolutely the right decision. You want my full reaction that we open the show with, you can get it on demand. AFR On Demand presented by Breck Golf. Book your tee time at golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org. Hey, if you're not following, we're here at Marucci Hitter's house today. Thursday shows presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. If you're not following Marucci Hitter's house on Instagram, you need to. Next week, there's going to be several LSU baseball players here at Marucci Hitter's house doing autographs, pictures, meet and greets, all that sort of stuff. Day and time is still TBD. So follow Marucci Hitter's house on Instagram. Excuse me. It's at hittershouse_BR, hittershouse_BR. Follow on Instagram and stay tuned because they'll be posting the details when they have it concrete on their Instagram. So hittershouse_BR if you want that info. All right, it's After Further Review. Thursday show is presented by Decision Critical, not just healthcare. It's healthcare for your lifestyle. We'll talk about LSU baseball. Season came to an end last night. Alex Milazzo will join us next. It's AFR.
After Further Review.
Literally right across the street. Well, right across the street and then boom, boom, 2 o'clock right there. Clegg's Nursery. Tell you every day. Siegen Air Airline, LA16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. The Clegg's on Siegen is right there. Just direct line as the crow flies, 2 o'clock. You can go and see. That's where the scones shop all the time. I still owe Erica a Clegg's shopping spree. We do that every year for Mother's Day. The Saturday before Mother's Day, we go to Clegg's. She buys a whole mess of flowers, and I have to go plant them, and I can't complain. That's our deal. Well, the Saturday before Mother's Day this year, it stormed, and so we still haven't gone yet over to Clegg's. And I can't go this weekend because I'm flying to Arizona. But we'll be there soon enough. And just need you to leave us some flowers. Or don't even worry about it because they got truckloads of shipments arriving almost daily at Clegg. So get on by any of the 4 locations. Support a great local company. Buy local, shop local, and tell them Matt sent you in to Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona. Presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Jay Johnson, after the loss last night, was asked in his post-game presser how you turn around quickly a program after a season like this. Here's what he said.
We need to support our flaws better, and we got to go to work on that. And it's a full deal. It is coaching, recruiting, development, program, culture, and I'm talking about working at elite because these guys did pour a lot into this. We did not get the results that we want, but in no way am I taking away anything from the effort that was put in. We certainly want to be better, but I don't think it was a lack of trying. It's something we've talked about is moving from trying to just competing, and I thought we did that today, and I thought we did that yesterday here.
Alex Milazzo, former Tiger, went through some ebbs and flows during his career, from Paul Maneri to Jay Johnson, and ultimately winning a national championship. Good enough to join us, get some perspective. Yo, dude, how are you?
Oh, doing good, Matt.
I mean, you heard Jay there say that, it wasn't a lack of effort or trying for this team. From your perspective as a guy who played, knows Jay, this program, what was it? What was the chief culprit to you?
I'll say it would probably be a culmination of things, but I'd say it definitely wasn't a lack of effort or care. I'd say across the board there this season. Just knowing Coach Johnson and that staff they got right now, I know they're out there working every day and probably a lot of late nights in the coach's office trying to get some things sorted out in there. But I just think it could be a culmination of things, and I think college sports and college athletics as a whole, not just in the baseball world, is changing. I think one of the things too is after winning a national championship like they did in 25, and I think we talked about this last time I was on, it takes a mature team. It takes a core group of veterans and mature guys on that team, and a lot of older players and a lot of talent as well. So one of two things ends up happening. Guys either graduate and move on, or guys get drafted, and you even have guys that are sophomores or juniors that sign contracts and get drafted as well. So when that happens, you lose talented guys that you relied on heavy throughout that season, and then boom, you're in Omaha late. You're focused on winning a national championship, and as you should be. And the portal's been open, so it's tougher for those teams playing in postseason baseball to stay on the recruiting side of things as heavy while you're trying to play for a national championship and be prepared for that. And you're now having to go grab guys and bring them in and expect them, whether they came from the SEC or not, you're expecting them to come to what I would consider the most competitive conference in college baseball. You're asking those guys to come in and produce right away. And then also with the portal, you got a lot of younger guys on a national championship team that might not see the field, and it's just the way it is nowadays. And guys can hit the transfer portal because they weren't playing immediately. And then you develop guys and they hit the portal, and then boom, you're sitting there trying to fill in or fill shoes that at times can't be filled.
Yeah, it's interesting about the players that sat a year ago that went to new places. Ryan Costello, Mikey Ryan, guys who were stars at their new locations that certainly would have helped ease the transition at LSU this year. When you all went from Jay's first year in 22 as a team that had its share of struggles, and then 23 kaboom, aside from adding, the best pitcher on the planet, what else happened in that offseason, Alex, from 22 to 23 that caused that sort of meteoric rise to a national championship?
I'd say it's a culmination of things. And I'm not saying you haven't had, or this group of guys didn't care about LSU or anything like that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, our group came in, that core group of us were there. I think my first year was 2020, and we kind of had that core group, and then boom, COVID. And then Coach Maneri's last year, that was Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan's class, Jordan Thompson. Those guys come in, and that kind of core group of us, the Belosos, Dugases, that core group of us and our classes just stayed with it. And we were just so bought in, and loved playing for LSU, and loved representing the university, and that's where I think we all wanted to be. And never really was the thought process, or we never even gave it thought of like any of us ever hitting the portal, whether we were playing, not playing, success or not having success. Like we were bought in on winning at LSU, and that's what mattered to us. And I think that was a big picture. And then obviously having Coach Johnson in there, and just the work we put in every day, and the work the coaching staff put in to prepare us, and just to go out there and perform at the highest level.
Alex Milazzo is our guest. So you said an interesting there about that core group, right? You and Beloso and Dugas, and then came in Jordan Thompson and Dylan Cruz, guys not from Louisiana, right, but were uber talented. So you just sort of illustrated this very real juxtaposition of guys that have always been part of LSU national championship teams, guys from this state who would give their arm to wear that uniform. And then the real need to bring major leaguers here, like Dylan Cruz and Tommy White. How do you blend that, Alex? As Jay Johnson's building the roster, look, you played on teams that had both. So what's the right mix, or what is the thing that's most important when mixing those those two groups?
I would say, like, honestly, when you were talking about that, and you said Dylan Cruz, Jordan Thompson, Tommy White, and I was thinking about it, and you said guys not from Louisiana, and it's like, boom, it just kind of popped in my head where, oh crap, you're right, they're not from Louisiana, but guess what? They all now have houses here in Baton Rouge, or they're always here, and those guys, when they came in, and we were all around. We loved being around each other, and we were around each other 24/7, whether it's the locker room, but we gelled really well together. And then even the pieces you did add down the road with Tommy coming in the transfer portal, me and Tommy were roommates in college, and he was all bought in on Louisiana, sold into it. And all those guys you named too that aren't necessarily from Louisiana, they were all in on LSU and Louisiana, and I'd say their parents were too. I mean, they were at every weekend series. I remember them coming down, and I don't know, just that group right there. Everybody was just so bought in on winning at LSU, and nothing else really mattered.
I think you're kind of hitting on the point that. Do you think? I mean, Jay Johnson. You played for Jay Johnson. You won a championship with him. What do you think it's like for him right now? Like, day after the season, not in the postseason. What is this like for Jay right now?
I would say he's just knowing the competitor in him, and how competitive and how much he cares. Loves baseball and loves winning, and that whole coaching staff too, really. Not only that, like, they actually, I say this like it should be a shock, but like that coaching staff and Coach Johnson all across the board, they actually care about us as players and, people, outside of baseball. So, I mean, that's super important as a player. You want to play for guys like that, and coaches like that actually care about you as a person. And, I think you get the most out of players that way, and he certainly does. But yeah, I'd say as a competitor, he's probably staying up at night. But I know Coach, and I know that coaching staff. I guarantee you they're already working on getting this thing right back on track. Not that I think it's steered off track by any means. I think you got the best coach in college baseball right there in Baton Rouge. And if there's anybody that's going to fix an issue or that you can trust that's going to work on it day in and day out, it's him.
He's had a pretty good track record of bounce back there every other year. Alex Milazzo is our guest. Disappointing season, certainly for the Tigers, with so much expectation, but I think everyone agrees they got the right guy to fix it and get it back on track. Hey, man, we always appreciate a couple of minutes. We'll bother you again somewhere down the line, man. Thank you.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
All right, bud. It's Alex Milazzo, former Tiger national champ. We're here at Marucci Hitter's House. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com. Man, it was storming earlier today. If you have water intrusion at your home, your office building, commercial building, whatever it is, chances are, like, if you just started noticing a leak today, it probably didn't just start today. So you could have moisture in your attic. And remember, like, Louisiana is the mold capital of the world, because when it's wet and humid, breeding ground for mold. So I would always encourage you, man, give Parish Restoration a call. Let them come have a look. Maybe you see black mold specks on your wall, by your air vents, by your doors, whatever. Then come spray their patented non-toxic dry fog at your home, your commercial building, whatever. And it's easy. It's efficient. It's effective. It's cost effective. I mean, they can fog your house in like half a day. So they'll come in, spray their patented non-toxic dry fog, close up the windows and doors, let it dwell, kill everything down to the spores. As soon as the fog dissipates, boom, you're back in the home. So, I mean, you leave for work, they can come in, fog. By the time you're home from work, boom, you're in a completely clean, sanitized, great-smelling home. It's Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. Excuse me. All right, it's After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Thursday edition of AFR presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Still got a lot to do. I want to get, there's been plenty of reaction to the Ed Orgeron hire. Feel free to get yours in. You can email us, tweet us, or text 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. We'll get to some of that, get to some of your emails, tweets, texts as well. Jimmy will be here for Auto Locks in 15 minutes. The zigzag continuing in the NBA with the OKC Thunder bouncing back in a big way in Game 2 against the Spurs. Tonight, Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Knicks had the 22-point rally with 7 minutes to go in Game 1, coming back to beat the Cavs in Game 1. Game 2 is tonight. We'll see what Jimmy's got for Auto Locks coming up in 15 minutes from right now. It's After Further Review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Don't you move. Stick around here on AFR.
After Further Review.
GLO. GlowResources.com. 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 At Glow Resources, we say they're complete employer solutions. You know, they used to say, the slogan used to be complete employee solutions. And a couple of years ago, they changed it because it might seem small, but in reality, it's a big deal because they don't work for the employee at Glow Resources. At Glow Resources, they work for you, the employer. They work to find you, the hiring manager, the ops manager, the VP, the HR manager. They work to help you find the best permanent solution for whatever job that you're trying to fill. It's Glow Resources. Start online at glowresources.com, GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. Yes, home base is here in Baton Rouge. They got offices in New Orleans. They got offices in Florida. They got offices everywhere. They can help you find the right people for jobs anywhere. GLO, glowresources.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Cruising along here on a Thursday edition of AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We're live in Marucci Hitter's house. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. It's been so busy. It's been cool, man, seeing all the young guys, kiddos coming through with their bats, heading to the cages, take some hacks. Awesome spot, man. You want to come in, take some swings in the cage. Always encourage you to ask about their memberships. You get 24/7 access. You get a key card, go inside, private member access. If you have multiple kiddos, you want to have memberships. It's less, obviously, for the more that you have on the membership for the family deal here at Marucci Hitter's house. Y'all check them out here at Marucci Hitter's house. I got a Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, is now again speaking out on why he's supporting the 2014 playoff, his league. As we've talked about this, and guys, I just disclosure here, this is going to be a big part of the offseason conversation. I mean, LSU baseball's done, and you look at, okay, what are the narratives, the talking points, the storylines that are likely going to dominate the headlines? Well, right now you're going through all the spring meetings. So Big Ten's this week. Brett Yormark spoke. Next week is the SEC spring meetings. Like, the future of the college football playoff is going to be the seminal talking point this summer around college football, because if they're going to move off of 12 and go to 16, which is clearly not going to happen, or 24, like, the current playoff is system. Excuse me, the contract's in place until 2030, but if they want to move off of it, the SEC and Big Ten have to agree, and they would have to do it before the start of the season for 2027. So you're getting or before the end of the year to 2027. So you're getting to that point where, okay, like, have your conversations, your meetings, because you have to come to some type of agreement. And there's a lot that has to be considered, from not only the competitive balance of it, but revenue sharing, existing TV contracts. Like, does ESPN want to pay for a 2014 playoff? If not, do you split the media rights? What does the current contract allow? Does it allow for them to split media rights, say, between like ESPN and Fox? Or some of the streaming services potentially. What about if you go to 24? That most certainly means you're eliminating conference championship games. If you eliminate conference championship games, can you get out of those TV contracts? As I understand it, the SEC's TV contract is maybe through 2030 as well. I don't have it in front of me, but point is, like, can you get out of that if you want to eliminate that game? There's a lot that has to be untangled to get there. But before you can get there, you have to know where you're going. You have to know what the path is. So that's going to be a giant part of this offseason. Well, since I'm down this road, I'll just do this quickly. So Brett Yormark, who's the Big 12 commissioner, explained on Big 12 Today why he supports the 2014 playoff.
I do like 24 for a couple of reasons. One, I think too many good teams are being left out, okay? And we saw that over the last couple of years. So the obvious is more access, I think, is great. And more access would be great for the Big 12. Aside from that, I think coaches and how rosters are being built and the cost of rosters are all based on what does it cost to be one of 12. And I think going to 24 takes some heat out of the system. Coaches are no longer judged based on are you in the CFP or not. Now it's just be in the top 25, okay, and good things can happen. And the same concept when it comes to the cost of building a roster. Right now it's about spending the resources to be one of 12. That changes dramatically when you go to, you got to be top 25. And by the way, how many schools are going to continue to invest
Great point.
year in and year out if they're not getting into the CFP?
That's that perspective, by the way, I do not anticipate will be met favorably with people here, because that's the perspective of the commissioner of a smaller league with smaller revenues that don't have access because they can't spend like the top two leagues. My perspective is assuming you are, just by nature of the fact that you're listening to, watching this show, are likely an SEC fan or fan of an SEC school, likely LSU. You are part of the haves. And so you don't want a decision made based on what the have-nots think. Because, and this is a point Greg Sankey's made forever, is it's not, I'm speaking as Greg Sankey, who said it's not, we shouldn't have to slow down to allow everyone else to catch up. It's like, if you can catch up, come on. So as to say, if we're spending $200 million, you're spending $100 million, we shouldn't have to spend less. You should have to spend more, or tough. Yormark is basically saying we should let 20, it's easier to be part of 25, and you wouldn't be judged on being in the playoff, and there's more access. Well, it's because that's the perspective he's coming from. My perspective, wanting to go to 24, is you do eliminate the conversation of teams that are worthy. They get in and get to prove it on the field, especially in a sport that does not value the regular season, despite what you think. It is counterintuitive to tell me Indiana canceling a home-and-home with Virginia to replace it with Kennesaw State and Austin Peay, that's valuing the regular season. That is devaluing the regular season. That is artificially inflating your record to appease a committee that's only looking at wins and losses. And so then it comes down to Indiana's 11-1 looks better on paper than South Carolina's 9-3, although they played dramatically different strengths of schedule. So how do you rectify that? Great. Playoff. That's my point. And that is something I think that is more appealing of an argument to an SEC or Big Ten fan. And that's better for the college football fan, because now you're not force-fed LSU, Western Kentucky, that trash pile that we watched in Tiger Stadium in November this year. You're actually going to see meaningful games. And it's not going to devalue the regular season, because what it's going to do is create more interest for more teams later, and you're playing for something. Maybe you're playing for a bye. Maybe you're playing for a home game. Maybe you're playing to get into the playoff. There will be so much on the line in November for so many more teams with more access. Brett Yormark and I agree on 24. The reason to go to 24, we disagree. All right, it's after further review. There was one comment I got about, it's sort of an anti-Orgeron returning comment that I want to address. Do that here in a second. Let me remind you about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. 9 locations in all, 2 in Baton Rouge, Corporate Boulevard in Bocage, and then in the Mall of Louisiana, Lafayette, New Orleans, Shreveport, and online at lmfj.com. Gents, thrill her with a gift in the red box. It's the time of year where you're thinking of popping the question. Awesome. Go to Lee Michaels. Not sure what to buy? Awesome. Go to Lee Michaels. They have experts. They have a great selection. They're never going to pressure you into buying anything. They want you to be comfortable and thrilled with your purchase. You'll be the hero. She'll be thrilled. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Beautiful mined diamonds from the finest diamond mines in the world. Every diamond hand inspected before it goes in the case. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. One argument that I got from a listener via text about Ed Orgeron coming back said it might be in the minority, but I'm against it. He said a lot of people saying that he's a great recruiter. If that's the case, why did LSU fall off at the end of his tenure? Should have had the players. So had the players. Is that because he wasn't a good coach? Says he loves Louisiana. He loves LSU. But does that mean you hire him back? So go in reverse order. No, I don't think just because you love LSU and Louisiana is a reason to be hired. I love LSU. They shouldn't hire me. But sometimes it's interesting. I talk about revisionist history often and how narratives get woven over time. It's like it's the story of the fish you caught that was this big, but over the years it gets to be this big. Like stories get embellished and narratives get changed. The end of the Orgeron era failed spectacularly, but the reasons aren't because they didn't recruit or they didn't have good position coaches who could develop talent. It's very obvious what happened. They win the national championship in 19. Joe Brady leaves. A year later, Steve Ensminger leaves, and Dave Aranda left after the championship. Dave Aranda left for Baylor. And in 20, Ed Orgeron, on Pete Carroll's recommendation, hired Bo Pelini. And that was a hideous decision. And then in 21, after Steve Ensminger retired, he brought back Jake Peetz. He went to Joe Brady and said, who can run your offense? Jake Peetz. Hired him. And that was a spectacular failure. Ed turned out not to be good at identifying, like he needed great coordinators. He made very bad hires. He inherited Dave Aranda and Steve Ensminger. He inherited very good coaches, and when they left, he didn't replace them. And then obviously at quarterback, Miles Brennan got hurt. And in 20, you ended up playing freshman Max Johnson, freshman TJ Finley. And in 21, you ended up playing a young Max Johnson again when Brennan got hurt before the season. So that was a giant part of it. You had young quarterbacks, and he made poor hires at coordinators. And then there was a lot of the off-the-field stuff as well. So again, all that to say, I'm not sitting here endorsing Ed Orgeron, the head coach. Like, I think that would be a terrible idea. But I can very easily and roundly applaud and endorse Ed Orgeron, the recruiting and defensive line assistant who loves LSU and Louisiana and has great relationships with high school coaches and colleges, coming onto Lane Kiffin's staff. Absolutely, I can endorse that and should. I think it's a brilliant decision. All right, it's After Further Review. Here from Marucci Hitter's House on Sieg, and our Thursday shows are presented always by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We always appreciate Blasia and the great team over there. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. Schedule your discovery call at decisioncriticalbr.com, decisioncriticalbr.com. Okay, let me knock out our final break of the show. We'll come back. Jimmy will be here for Otter Locks. We'll find out what we're betting on tonight. No doubt he'll have a play on the Eastern Conference Finals Game 2. We'll get to that with Jimmy when we continue to wrap up here from Marucci Hitter's House on Thursday's AFR.
AFR.
You've heard me and so many people talk about peptide therapy. Peptides. It's everywhere now. Peptides. What is a peptide? Most people have no idea. You hear the word, you don't know what it actually is. Well, peptides are strands of amino acids designed to function and help your body sort of magnify your body's natural function. You hear about GLP-1s all the time, right? The quote-unquote weight loss shot. The shot doesn't help you lose weight. It increases your body's feeling of satiety, so you feel full, so you don't eat as much. Like, it's not burning fat. I take NAD+, which literally at a cellular level makes your cells younger, will boost energy levels. I take BPC 157, body protection compound 157. It's for cellular, muscle recovery, tissue repair. So if you have an injury, like from my back pain, it's been incredible to help my back heal. Point is, if you want to learn more, Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has tons of peptides. Learn more. YourGoodwood.com. YourGoodwood.com. Love telling you about River Parish Contractors. rpcontractors.com is the website if you're looking for work, or you may not even know you're looking for work. River Parish Contractors, you need to make this call. Call Big Jake over at River Parish Contractors because they got tons of work lined up. So you want overtime? They got as much overtime as you want. So you never have to. A lot of places want to hire, give you a good rate, but they don't want you to work overtime. Not at River Parish Contractors. They got as much overtime as you want to work. You want to work night shifts when it's cooler? You can do that. You want to work day shifts? Got it. Look, there's no rainouts. They have amazing benefits. They've got PTO. If you're a welder, pipe fitter, pipe cutter, you got to get in touch with my friends over at River Parish Contractors. Call Big Jake or go to rpcontractors.com, rpcontractors.com. Right there in Reserve, River Parish Contractors, rpcontractors.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Thursday edition of AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. We always appreciate our friends here at Marucci for being great hosts and welcoming us here at Marucci Hitters House. Y'all get on by. One thing left to do. Let's find out what we're betting on tonight. It's time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks.
All right, time to win some money.
Presented by Total Maintenance AC Repair. Same-day service means you will never sleep hot. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
I think it's safe to say that I won the bet.
Another absolutely en fuego night for the Otter. The only miss was on the basketball game, but you know what? At this rate, I don't even care. Otter, how are you?
Good, Matthew. Yeah, that was a flip of the coin cover last night in the basketball game. Didn't fall our way. So we did keep the streak alive in MLB. Combined on the Otter Locks and on the show. 12 in a row, but it was snapped earlier today. We had an early 305 under on Washington. The Nationals, they finally went under a 2-1 final. So that was a loss earlier. And we're behind 2-0 early in this Marlins game. Sandy Alcantara gave up a 2-run home run to Atlanta. So we're going to out the gate slow tonight, but yeah, it's been a great week.
All right. Let's see what we're looking at tonight. I got the website pulled up. You got a lot. I see the Florida-Bama game. You had the under in that. That's already gone over at the SEC tournament. But let's look at what else we got on the slate. If you have it in front of me or you need me to cue you up.
No, I got them. So we're going back to Major League Baseball. We ride in Arizona. We had them in a couple of the games in that sweep against San Francisco. They now bringing in Colorado. This team is just really playing well. Marte and the rest of the lineup is just really Perdomo. They're just bashing the ball right now. So we're taking a team that hasn't had the best record so far, but we have to lay a run and a half at home to -105. We'll do it against suspect Colorado pitching. Arizona has one of their best starters. So Arizona -1.5 on the run line in that one. Going to Randy McKay. Came on today instead of yesterday. He gave us the under 1.5 first period last night. He's going back to the same tonight. Game 1, Montreal at Carolina. I think it's the first game of these series. They're going to feel each other out. There was no score in the game last night in first period. We're looking for the same under 1.5 first period, Montreal at Colorado. And we're also going with the Cavaliers. I'm going to put more emphasis on the first 40 minutes than the last 13. So I just think that a lot of Knicks bettors, including us, were very fortunate the first time, and still that line is very inviting. And they're getting exactly that, getting a lot of Knicks action. We're going to be on the house's side tonight and take the Cavaliers and flip to keep that one close. And then back to Omaha. The wind was blowing out in the first two games of the Big Ten tournament. The next 7, it has gone under We're going to ride that under streak. They are about 10 minutes from first pitch, under 9.5, Michigan, Ohio State. Wind blowing in now at Charles Schwab Field. You know how big that play is. So, again, 7-2 so far to the under. Same thing with Georgia. Mississippi State went under early, but, man, this Florida lineup, this is a consideration for a future bet. This is a different team, man. A real different team right now, getting quality pitching. Fielding is sharp, and their lineup looks different. This is an Alabama team that went to Gainesville and swept them, and they're getting run ruled right now. They're 3 outs away from getting run ruled right now in Hoover. So, Florida's really hot.
I was looking earlier today. The Gators are 33-1 to win the national championship.
Yeah.
So you get a really good price on Florida right now. Real quick to recap: Cavs and the points. Canadians in Carolina, first period under 1.5. D-backs on the run line. Marlins in game. If you get it, they're down 2-0 in the first, but you get it at plus 225 right now, and then under 9.5. Michigan, Ohio State. Those are your auto locks. You can get them up at LouisianaSports.net. Rufino's tomorrow.
Rufino's tomorrow, Friday. Yes, indeed. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yeah, I gotta wait. What you got, Drew?
Thank you, Otter.
Good luck.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. We always love telling you about Relief Windows. Otter's a Relief Windows customer and endorser as well. He lives in a neighborhood where they require wood windows. If that's you, they're Geldwin wood windows, lifetime warranty on wood windows. That ain't a punchline. It's true. It's at Relief Windows. They'll never be the cheapest, but they will always, always, always be the best. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. All right, we're getting out of here. Alondra on site. Thank you so much. Muse Pauly back in studio. Big shout out to our friends here at Marucci and Decision Critical. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, love telling you about South Point Volkswagen and SouthPointVW.com. I was so fired up, man. I want to read this text to you. My buddy Michael went over. His wife wanted a Tiguan, so they went over to South Point Volkswagen earlier today. They purchased the Tiguan. Said Brad Bove is the business manager over at South Point. Said Brad was absolutely wonderful. Thank you for the recommendation. They loved the entire experience over at South Point Volkswagen and all the great people over there as well. Look, buying a car, you got options. And I know most people buy online. You shop online before you go to the dealer. And I always encourage you with South Point Volkswagen, shop them online, SouthPointVW.com, SouthPointVW.com. Shop them online and then go test drive. They're right there, Airline, just north of Highland, not far from where we are today. Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer at South Point Volkswagen. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction?